In the middle of nowhere, they found a dead body.
Tell me exactly what happened.
We think we found a body out here.
And what makes you think that?
It's in a road, and somebody had put it on like a mattress or something and burned it. And it looks like it has bones in it, and you can see intestines and guts, and I don't know. That's weird.
A grandson who said he was made to sign.
My grandmother said, "I'm too old. Will you please kill me?"
Until one of the detectives just happened to notice a very small drop of blood in the entryway hallway next to a carpet cleaner.
Well, I would assume that she's there or something.
Okay, so you don't see Drake at that point?
No, not at all in the house.
Okay.
This is the disturbing story of Marilyn Gandert, a woman who placed her trust in those closest to her, only to be betrayed in the most heartbreaking way. Before we go further, make sure to hit that like button. It helps these stories reach more people who care about real cases and real justice. If true crime is your thing, go ahead and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. It's always incredible to see this community come together from around the world. Now, let's get into today's case.
Albuquerque Police, how can I help you?
Yes, this is Harry Gandert. I'm at my sister's house, and she's not here. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her, and she usually gets back to me because I call her every morning and night, and she has, and the phone has been offline.
At exactly 6:56 a.m., a guy named Harry Gandert called 911. His home was in Albuquerque, 20 miles to the south. He was 62 years old. She was known as Marilyn Gandert. Her phone had been turned off for a long time. That was enough to make her brother feel uncomfortable. There was more, though.
And what's your sister's name?
Marilyn Gandert. But her vehicle's here, and that's how she travels. I mean, my note that I left yesterday is still in the door. I'm getting worried now.
That was still where her car was. He left a note the day before, but it was still sealed in the door. It was clear what the signs meant. She hadn't been home or moving around. Harry did not like it in the least. As soon as the police came and started putting the pieces together, they started with Harry.
What's going on, though?
Answering the door, her phone is like it goes directly to voice messaging. I left a note there yesterday.
Okay.
Still there.
Okay.
Her vehicle is here. Yeah, 'cause I'm really nervous.
Do you have a key?
No, I don't.
He told them again what he knew. Even though his speech was calm, you could hear the worry in it. He said he rang the bell and knocked, but no one answered. The phone was still off, and it went straight to voicemail. The car wasn't moving. Then, the part that hurt a bit more came. It wasn't easy for Marilyn to make friends.
She doesn't have that many friends. She's like me, kind of solitary.
Okay.
But now my mind is going everywhere. That she
No, I-
kind of got kidnapped or
I'm with you,
got
sir.
killed or at a...
Harry told her that her life had gotten smaller over the years. First, her husband died. After that, her son Ryan killed himself. After that, she gradually became alone. Not much going on, just peace and quiet. A missed call probably wouldn't have bothered most people. He knew his sister, though. She could be trusted. It wasn't a mistake when she didn't pick up. He didn't fully understand the warning yet, but it was there. They were talking to the police officer when a woman walked up to them.
Are you worried about Marilyn too?
Yeah.
I haven't get a hold of her for a couple of days, and it's just not like her.
No, it isn't.
So have you gone in? Did you have a key?
No, I don't have a key.
Do you have a key?
No.
No? Okay.
Nicole Robinson, Marilyn's best friend, heard the news. She had known Marilyn for a long time. At the post office, they worked together. Marilyn always showed up for work and never missed a call. She also would never leave her dog home alone like that. The police looked around the house for a way in. Nobody broke in. There were no signs of Marilyn, and there was no broken glass. That's not always the best sign, though. The police cops walked around the building. When they got to the garden, they tried to look inside through the blinds but couldn't see anything. When they went around again, that's when they saw it. The back door was left all the way open. That was the kind of detail that made no sense, which is what made it so scary. The police officer stopped Nancy from going in.
There was a lot of red flags that were happening.
Nancy wanted to go in, but the officer stopped her.
I'm gonna go inside, okay?
Your best friend.
I understand that, but there might be somebody in there.
There might still be someone inside, and they might be armed. That meant she shouldn't go in.
Come over here. I'm gonna wait for another officer. We're gonna go inside, and then we'll get everything taken care of. I just don't want you to be getting hurt, okay?
When help finally came, the officers walked up to the open door.
Once backup arrives, Officer Barnhill and the other responding officer approach the open sliding door.
We walk up to the back door. Residents, this is Albuquerque Police Department. Coming inside, need to make your presence known now. Come to the front door with your hands open and empty. Do it now.
As usual, the police called out when they crossed the entryway, but no one answered. The officers moved slowly from room to room.
Let's look at and clear this view. Stepping out. Clear. Cool.
I think this is the garage in here.
Going past the garage and through the kitchen and into the hall, something strange came up, but nothing looked broken or forced. They saw pillboxes and medical papers lying around. It didn't look like there was a fight. Someone either left quickly or was taken before they could get their things together.
A lot of pill bottles, and I saw a lot of hospital kind of paperwork. Dude, I bet you she's in the hospital.
Yeah, I hope so. Just somebody take care of the dogs.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
They saw it after that. The house keys are still on the outside of the front door.
Then, the officers find something strange.
Yeah, the keys are on the door.
Marilyn's house and truck keys are hanging from her front doorknob.
I don't leave the house without my wallet. A lot of weird stuff just seems abnormal.
Harry had already said that it was strange. The cops agreed.
Back outside, Marilyn's friend Nancy tells officers that Marilyn also owns a nearby rental property where her former tenants had just moved out.
Marilyn wasn't in the hospital, and she wasn't even there. She had just disappeared.
Nancy said she drove by that residence looking for Marilyn.
Nobody was there as far as I knew, because I just looked for her vehicle.
Oh, okay. You didn't knock on the door or anything?
I did not knock on the door.
Okay.
But I'm getting ready to.
It wasn't long before the search got bigger. Marilyn had a house right next door. Alyssa, her daughter-in-law, used to rent it from her.
Officers drive to the rental residence.
Nancy told the police that Alyssa and her family had just moved out, but that they might have seen Marilyn before she went missing. The cops came over to see what was going on. It made sense to do it next, and just maybe something would click. The garage door was open when they got there. The police officer walked up to the parked truck.
Hi.
Hi, can you come on out a second?
Yeah.
So, what's going on?
I'm moving out.
Okay, what's your name?
Alyssa.
Alyssa, who is 43 years old, was outside. She was moving around and taking things out of the house. Drake, her son, was there. A friend named Annie was too.
Officers meet Alyssa Bickett, who had been renting the house from her mother-in-law, Marilyn, and is the widow of Marilyn's son, who passed away in 2014. Also living at the house was Alyssa's son and Marilyn's grandson, Drake, and Annie Rael, a friend of Alyssa's.
It was an interesting time. Things are being cleared out and boxes are being stacked. The cops didn't believe what they saw at first glance. Alyssa now said she was there to finish moving. She was even willing to show her text records to make sure everything was clear.
It just clears a few things up for us.
No, that's fine. I said I'm going to come by in about an hour for the keys. I don't have, but I told her when I am. And see, she wasn't answering me, but she doesn't always answer me.
So the last one you got from her
was at 10:35 on the 26th. That was the Friday.
Okay.
But she was here that day, and we were hanging out.
She looked through her phone. She showed Marilyn a text message she sent on Friday, January 26th at 10:35 a.m. That was the last time she saw Marilyn. They had spent time together that day.
Know where she would be right now?
I honestly, I don't, and that's
because somebody's trying to report her as missing. Because Marilyn's being entered as a missing person, they want us to do a walkthrough on this house.
Okay, that's fine. Perfectly fine. I have no problem.
I appreciate it, Alyssa. Just one, it's a box to check.
So the cops told what was going on. Now Marilyn wasn't being found. They had to go through the house one last time. Alyssa agreed right away. Alyssa was willing to help. She wasn't hiding anything.
Right, where are you moving to?
Oh, no.
This one?
I had it a little close, so I was trying to.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. You can open that door if you want. That's a closet.
She had to leave, but she didn't have a place to go. The police asked Alyssa if she knew where Marilyn might be at this time.
She didn't come yesterday, and I expected her to come by, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought, she probably just...
Right.
Sometimes she gets mad and won't even talk to me, and she's mad at me, but she has been pretty cordial with me. I said, I'm just trying to get my stuff out.
That wasn't strange. When Marilyn was upset, she would sometimes be quiet and avoid people for a while. Detectives left Alyssa's house without finding anything, but they did leave with something much more valuable, a schedule. It wasn't sealed, but it was enough to get by. It was better to have something than nothing in this case. Marilyn was not like other people. Her brother, best friend, and daughter-in-law were all people she talked to often. They all said the same thing. Marilyn was no longer there. Marilyn wasn't someone who would disappear overnight. But let us go back a few days. In Rio Rancho, New Mexico, on the night of January 26, 2018, a woman was on her way home from work. She thought it was just another cold winter night. Then she saw something on the side of the road, a dark pile that was on fire. There was still black smoke in the air. Recently, something had been on fire. The picture wouldn't leave her mind as she drove, though. It seemed odd in some way. She came back in the morning, this time with her husband. The shadows were gone by daybreak. They were shocked to find something much worse than they had thought. They did not wait. He picked up his phone and called the cops. At 11:42 p.m. on January 27th, someone called the cops.
Tell me exactly what happened.
We think we found a body out here.
And what makes you think that?
It's in a road, and somebody had put it on like a mattress or something and burned it. And it looks like it has bones in it, and you can see intestines and guts, and I don't know. That's weird.
When the call came in, deputies checked to make sure the person wasn't wrong. They got to the dirt road.
Hey, he is. I don't know, man. It looks like it has rips and teeth in there. Okay, yeah. I don't know if it's real or.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It might be exactly what we think it is. So
it was clear this wasn't just trash, even from far away. Someone broke up with me. The deputy saw the burned pile and ran back to his car to report it.
And we couldn't tell last night at all. I mean, when I drove through here last night, coming home from work, it just looked like charred remains, charred something.
And what time approximately did you see it last night?
I came home. It was 1 o'clock when I came home.
1 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
So what made you all come back out here? Just to see what was going on since last night you guys couldn't tell? Is that what it was?
It was a dead body. It looked like a child or maybe a teenager because the metal chains around its wrists and legs were twisted very tightly. The right foot was cut off clean. It looked like the mouth was frozen open, like it was screaming after death. It wasn't just a body. It was a message. This was wanted to be found. The people who called it in were the first suspects.
All right, folks, so listen, this is what we're going to have to do, okay? Because we have to treat everything as if it's a homicide investigation. So what I'm going to ask you all to do is I'm going to just get pictures of each one of you. doing this for us. To make sure, no, you're right there. Now, underneath. And we'll start blocking off the whole area.
It was just the normal thing to do. They haven't been able to identify the body yet. Who is this? As soon as the news got out, people called the police. There were a lot of tips, and each one pointed to a different lost person. But one stood out. Nancy called the number because she thought the body might be her friend Marilyn's. The detectives asked for Marilyn's teeth records and gave them to the medical investigator's office. It was quick. It was really Marilyn Gandert who was lying on the cot. The next day, officers went to Harry's house to tell him the news in person. They told him what he knew in his heart already.
So I told you I was going to keep you up to date as to everything that's going on. The body that she suspected in Rio Rancho, the burned one, was positively identified as Marilyn.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Why don't you have a seat, sir?
Yeah, sit down.
He couldn't hold back his tears and broke down. Marilyn was more than just his sister. One thing that never changed in his life was her.
Never hear her voice. I mean, she was just a wonderful person and a very wonderful sister, and I miss her every day of my life. She was the type of person who would do anything.
There was no plan for this to happen. Not for someone like her. She wasn't the type to get into trouble. Harry couldn't believe that someone so normal could have been through something so terrible. It came to his mind that Marilyn had been going through a tough time right before she disappeared.
She was, like me, solitary.
She liked to stay home?
By herself, yeah. She had just a few friends, like Nancy.
Did she rarely leave the house?
Yeah, I can't think of what she would leave. Oh, I think right now she was going with the process of eviction, getting things started with moving. Lisa lies all the time, and, she would promise to pay the rent and didn't, and she just got tired this time.
Her wife's daughter. She didn't pay rent while Alyssa lived in one of her homes. These people were not family in the usual sense. Their relationship was not going well. It's not the kind of bond you'd put your whole life on. Even though it seemed like an easy choice, Marilyn's decision to kick her out could have been the last spark. A lot of what the cops were worried about was what Alyssa hadn't said. When they talked to her earlier, she said she was just leaving. Being kicked out of a house is not the same as moving out. Why didn't she tell the cops the truth? Did she want them to take her off the list of suspects and look elsewhere? Or did she just say the wrong thing? When things are like this, lies, even small ones, can lead to something bigger. It was hard for the officers to do their job. They had a body. They had a name. It was time for a scene. When they talked to Nancy, she told them some interesting things.
That kind of self-serving, depraved behavior. Who does something like that? Why? It's just like an animal.
It seemed like a good idea to start at Marilyn's house, but a careful search turned up nothing. No blood or other signs of a fight. The house was tidy and hadn't been touched. That's not where what happened to Marilyn took place. They then turned their attention to the other house, which Marilyn had been renting to Alyssa Bickett, her daughter-in-law. Alyssa had just been kicked out of that house. It wasn't a nice move. Marilyn's brother said she was sick of the lies, not paying the rent, and the stress. This rental house had new weight now that Marilyn was gone.
She, too, has suspicions about Marilyn's former tenant, Alyssa Bickett, who police have just learned had been evicted.
I don't want to, I don't want, you try not to be in the way, and yet you try to, I'm looking for her. I'm coming for her.
Right.
Because I ended up calling 911 on Sunday morning because Alyssa shouldn't have had the keys in the first place.
It was clear that she was thinking about what she said. The next person they were looking out for was Drake, Marilyn's grandson. Drake and his girlfriend Nikki moved into a hotel after being kicked out of their apartment.
We want to find out who's telling us the truth. We want to find out, how does Alyssa have these keys without Marilyn's permission?
Detectives dig into Alyssa's and her 20-year-old son Drake's backgrounds and discover Drake has a criminal record.
Our understanding was Drake was staying at a hotel because they didn't have a permanent place to live.
It was all starting to come together: emotion, motivation, and chance.
I would say 3 or 4 days ago, my grandmother was telling my mother that we were getting kicked out, so then I was helping her move out.
Drake also said Marilyn had come to the house while they were moving. For him, it wasn't important, but for the cops, it was. That day, Marilyn might have come to the house and been last seen living. This could be where they did their crime. The police noticed something odd about Drake. He didn't seem connected.
I was really upset.
So we wanted to see what his side of the story is. Why he hasn't seen his grandma in a couple days. Is he going to make up a story like his mom's? We need to see who's telling the truth and not telling the truth.
In a way that didn't make sense, he seemed calm, barely awake, and not at all worried. He was only 19, though, so the police gave him the benefit of the doubt for now.
So, your grandma, we found her, but she's dead.
Where at?
Well, we believe that it's suspicious. Okay, we think someone killed her.
When?
And I'm really sorry.
Okay. How does that make you feel? It makes me feel sad.
The problem with this answer was that Drake was more shocked that his grandma had been found than by what would happen to her. No surprise, no doubt, and no sadness. The police then went to the house Alyssa had been kicked out of, which was the scene of the crime. She said Alyssa was already there trying to get her things together. They got a search warrant because she might be trying to destroy proof by being there. The police wouldn't let her back into the house.
Anyone else inside?
So she says.
This is the Albuquerque Police Department. Make your presence known. Make your presence known now.
Clear. Set now.
Officers worked their way through the house, clearing every room.
The place looked clean at first glance. As the cops went from room to room clearing it out, they saw it finally just inside the front door. There was one blood drop on the wall. It was small, but it changed the whole mood of the search. While the police searched the house, word got to Alyssa. The body of Marilyn had been found. She didn't say anything. What made detectives even more worried was that she never said anything about being evicted in the first chat. She just said she was leaving. They knew better now, though. Nancy, one of Marilyn's few close friends, filled in the blanks. Marilyn was becoming irritated. She helped Alyssa for a long time, especially after her son Ryan died. But enough was enough. Marilyn either wanted to pay rent or be respected. Alyssa also wasn't giving anything. Marilyn finally chose to sell the house, so she changed the locks and broke up with her boyfriend. When asked about it, Alyssa gave a different account. She said it was all smooth because she and her friend Annie were just moving out and there was no trouble. But Marilyn's locked doors and watched visits showed something else. It was then that Annie Rail pulled up in the driveway.
It's then that another person pulls up to the scene. It's Alyssa's roommate, Annie Rael. The police approach her.
You just like to ask you some
Right, of
questions.
course.
We're
No,
trying to clear things up.
I'm very confused as to what's happening.
They asked her about Marilyn when they did. She said she didn't know her well.
Did you meet Marilyn at all last week?
Yeah, so she was here when we were
Oh, she
moving
was?
stuff.
Okay. Tell me what she was doing here.
She was in her vehicle. She was in and out of the house. She was nagging everybody, telling us like how to move out. And
really?
and then she came at me and she said that, this is your fault. You know why they're getting evicted, right? Because of you.
It seemed like she was on guard, and her body language showed it. Plus, the more the police pressed her, the worse she felt. During this time, more information about Marilyn's body was given to the cops. She had been cruelly killed and then set on fire after being doused in gasoline. As the cops thought about these new facts, they went back to Alyssa. At first, her story didn't seem very interesting, but things were starting to fall apart.
I want to get my things out first.
Nobody can go back until the search warrant's completed.
You gotta understand.
I know, but I want my clothes and I want to go to my hotel and I want to sleep. I'm tired of moving.
Right. I understand. All right.
I just want my clothes, that's
I know
all.
that.
She kept talking about the same thing when asked about it.
Because she said she goes to work on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. That she wanted to take the weekend. She's like, come over in the morning and get the keys.
So she's telling you to come over in the morning and get the keys from her. And that was the last time you spoke to her?
No.
Okay.
I went on Saturday morning to pick up the keys.
So you went over to
around 10 o'clock. And I just knock on the door, get the keys. She says, give them to me on Sunday. And that's all we said. That was it. Not even another word.
But that didn't match up with what the police knew. She was no longer alive. Timelines didn't make sense, and Alyssa's story got weirder as she went on. Alarms went off when Alyssa's story kept changing. It was getting too expensive for the cops to ignore the growing doubts. They had no other choice but to act. Alyssa and Annie were both handcuffed and taken into prison to be questioned in a formal way. Medicine bottles and blood were found in Annie's truck when it was searched. She was actually caught in the act. It was no longer appropriate to ask nice questions. These people were thought to be guilty, and now they were going to find out what the two women knew. Drake was even arrested at the hotel.
Do you have any weapons on you, man? No, sir.
Detectives also arrest Drake back at the hotel and bring him to the station.
Step on out.
The police were ready for a big lead, but when Drake was arrested, they didn't expect him to make such a shocking statement. In earlier talks, he had seemed unconcerned. But when things got darker in the talk, the weight of what he said changed the whole investigation. At the start of the conversation, the detective said something straightforward.
I wrote a warrant for you for the homicide of your grandma. So I'm actually charging you with the homicide of your grandma.
Okay.
Okay. I've already had your mom, your mom's arrested.
Yeah.
And Annie is arrested.
Okay.
Okay.
Drake didn't seem shocked or upset, but what he said next would change everything. Then he said something that shocked everyone in the room. Drake spoke right into the camera without any hesitancy.
My grandmother said, I'm too old.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please kill me? Multiple times, drunk and sober.
Okay.
That is honestly.
Drake said that Kennedy, his grandma, had asked him to kill her. The way he talked about it made me feel uneasy. It was almost like he was being forced to do this strange kind of job. It was like her words were burned into his mind, giving him a reason to do something he might not have done otherwise. Once Drake spoke, his words hung heavy in the air, and the officers pressed him harder to get the whole story.
So you're saying that at some point your grandma asked you to kill her?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember that date?
I don't remember the date, but that's what she
Maybe
wanted.
not the actual date. I'm not asking you for the date, but can we go back to that day in your memory and tell me what happened?
They needed the specifics, like the date, time, and way to do it. The people were curious about how he went from not wanting to take care of her to killing her. His memories were all over the place, but the main idea of his story stayed the same.
I was there, and then she would be like depressed,
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she for certain said that. I know she said that.
Okay.
So I did.
understand.
I passed her away. You know what I'm saying?
So how did you do it?
Just essentially. That's it. That's a question without a lawyer or a public defender I'd like to share.
The police wanted to know more, but Drake wasn't ready to give them the whole story. He stopped short because he wouldn't go any further without a lawyer. The cops were left with more questions than answers because the door was locked. Drake had only said enough to back up what they already thought, not enough to solve the crime. That statement had a scary, final feel to it, but the real story of Marilyn's death was still out there. Alyssa told a story that was very different. There were more and more problems with what Alyssa said as she went on. From her point of view, the events were very different. She said that feelings were strong and angry urges took over. As Alyssa talked about what happened next, her fear was clear. She felt guilty and angry at the same time. She admitted to hitting Marilyn and tying her up when she was really upset. It was hard to tell if Alyssa was trying to explain what she did or just telling the story of what happened, but the fear in her voice was clear. Alyssa's story started to change as the questioning went on, especially when she talked about what happened afterward. She left Marilyn and Annie alone for a short time. When she came back, Annie was wiping a bloody knife.
Left. Well, I would assume that she's or something.
Okay, so you don't see Drake at that point?
No, not at all in the house.
Okay.
Each person's evidence showed a little more of the horrifying truth, but detectives were still not sure who was planning the crime and who was just doing what they were told. Alyssa's last statement added a scary part to the story.
Then we unload the mattress, and I poured gasoline and I lit it up.
One thing about her story didn't make sense, though. She said she didn't know where Drake was during the most important times, which seemed to distance herself from Drake's role. The cops' doubts got stronger. Alyssa's attempt to downplay Drake's part in the story and the fact that she left out important information made her seem less trustworthy by the minute. It didn't make sense. If Marilyn had already been knocked out, why would Annie stab her out of the blue when she had no reason to kill? The officers had a hard time figuring out how Alyssa's story fit with what they knew. There were already holes in her story, and it was clear what to do next. Annie had to explain herself. When Annie was brought in to be questioned, her story added another disturbing layer to the story. Everything was planned.
So, and then when Drake got there, we all were in Alyssa's room getting high. That's pretty much when Alyssa, she had brought it up before about killing Marilyn. I still didn't think we were gonna do it. I thought she was joking. She just told me when she nods, because she would pretend that she was the Don, like the Godfather. She just told me when I nod, get her.
From Annie's point of view, Alyssa looked different. Alyssa didn't just sit there and do nothing. She behaved like the leader of a group.
And Marilyn was coming in. Drake was like, can you just let us stay? Look at my mom packing. She was like, no. Alyssa looked at me and Drake and nodded, and I looked at Drake, and he started walking behind Marilyn, and I got Marilyn in from behind and took her down.
With each new statement, the police got a little closer to figuring out what the whole crime was. More scary facts came to light as the investigation went on. As the agents put together the terrible events, they got a clear picture of how a family fell into violence and betrayal. With each new piece of information, the story went from a sad murder to a very frightening murder that was planned. Annie and Alyssa both agreed on one very important point. Anne was the first person to touch Marilyn. Still, their stories of what happened started to become very different. Annie told the story very clearly, but Alyssa's story was missing some important details. The attack was planned, but she didn't say that. Instead, she made it sound like something that happened quickly. What was even more striking was that she didn't say anything about Drake being there during the attack or the mission, which would become a major focus of the investigators' work. The details of Annie's story got more graphic, showing how violent the attack really was.
I had gotten another cord and put it around her neck to strangle her, and Drake pulled it with me and it broke, and then Drake grabbed my knife, and that's when he started going at it a bunch of times, and I yelled and I grabbed the knife from him. He had already...
This confession made people question Alyssa's story even more, since it was clear that she had tried to keep her son from realizing how horrible the crime was. As the case went on, it became clear that this was not something that was done on the spur of the moment. The killing was so cruel that it looked like it had been carefully planned. As a group, Alyssa, Drake, and Annie were all involved in the murder. When Drake's girlfriend Nikki told her scary story, the fear grew even more. Under the fear of a knife and a gun, Alyssa and Annie made Nikki help them get rid of Marilyn's body, she told police. She talked about seeing Marilyn lying on the ground and bleeding before Alyssa wrapped her in a sheet and put her in Annie's pickup truck. Nikki was forced to drive to a remote area where Marilyn's body was removed and left for Alyssa to put gasoline on it before setting it on fire. Inke could still see the fires in the rearview mirror as they drove away. Soon, surveillance footage and forensic proof proved Nikki's story. The video showed that Annie's truck was close to the dump where Marilyn's body was found. The car was later searched and DNA evidence was found in Marilyn's blood, her purse, her medicines, and her keys. There was no denying the proof. This was a brutal act that was planned and carried out by a family that was joined by violence, lies, and desperation. Arrests were finally made in May 2018, after a long wait. In the end, both Alyssa and Annie were charged with killing Marilyn Gandert in a brutal way. Marilyn Gandert was killed in the second degree by Alyssa and her son, Drake. Alyssa, Annie, and Drake all attacked Marilyn in a planned and brutal way because they were afraid of being evicted and were very angry. They hit her, held her down, smothered her with a bag, and then killed her. Later, her body was dumped on a hillside and set on fire. Annie, who had already said she was involved, testified against the other two, proving that all three of them had killed the person. The judge recognized Drake's troubled past on October 3rd, 2019, but made it clear that it did not excuse the cruel things he did. Alyssa was given 30 years in prison. Drake was given 26 years, and Annie was given 12 years. The death of Marilyn Gandert was more than a disaster. There was no longer any trust or family because of the deception. In the end, justice was done, but the pain of what was lost will never go away. Thanks for watching. If you found this case shocking, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss a new true crime story. See you in the next one.